Hello and welcome back to Paranormal NL Podcast, located in Newfoundland and Labrador, Canada. That's PNL Podcast for short. I'm your host and founder, Jen Noseworthy. Thank you for tuning in for tonight's Season 3, 1900s Tall Ship Bonus, Episode 44.5 on PNL Podcast. I've got a special guest tonight waiting backstage from East Coast, Avalon, Newfoundland and Labrador, Canada, who I'll bring on shortly. Now it's time to grab your favorite cold one, a few munchies, and get ready for the show tonight. I'm going to talk a little bit about Paranormal NL Podcast, so if you're listening, you can always skip forward this part and get into the meat and bones. So for tonight, I figured I'd do a different intro instead. This show is being broadcast exclusively on all Paranormal NL Podcast platforms instead of also UPRN, United Public Radio Network. I'd like to introduce you a little bit more about Paranormal NL Podcast. PNL Podcast believes in supporting local Newfoundland and Labrador, Canada culture and international paranormal people, places, and things. PNL Podcast believes in promoting global paranormal networking and paranormal tourism. Paranormal NL Podcast is pre-recorded, and we also have some live streams to enjoy with the BOG team. Now, PNL Podcast airs on all of our platforms every Tuesday at 6 p.m. That's 7:30 p.m. for us Newfoundlanders. PNL Podcast has over 241 episodes to watch on our own YouTube channel, Paranormal NL Podcast, on the BOG team. And BOG is Boots on Ground. So you can listen to Paranormal NL Podcast on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Pocket Cast, and thank you to all the PNL Podcast Alumni-Network guests from Season 1, 2023, which has 28 radio episodes, Season 2, 2024, which has 153 radio and StreamYard video episodes, and Season 3, 2025, which has over 60 StreamYard video episodes. You can contact Paranormal NL Podcast at gmail.com, at paranormal.nl.podcast@gmail.com if you're interested in being on the show. And after your episode, you'll become part of the PNL Podcast Alumni-Network. The PNL Podcast Alumni-Network gives you exclusive networking access to all PNL guests in Season 1, 2, and 3. And you can follow PNL Podcast and the BOG team on their link tree. Smash those subscribe buttons, folks. It all helps with all the logarithms. Paranormal NL Podcast is also found every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on all platforms of UPRN, United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM in New Orleans and 105.3 FM on that Gulf, with exception to tonight's PNL bonus episodes. Now, you can follow UPRN on UPRNtalkradio.com. PNL joined UPRN in 2024 and has over 60 segments to watch so far and listen on all the UPRN platforms. So UPRN is on all kinds of stuff like Rumble, YouTube, and all that. Paranormal NL Podcast, our official hangout at Facebook group, not the page. The page is just for Instagram drops for fans who are not on Insta. So make sure you check out the group and join the group, not the page. It's a certified Safe Space Alliance. And that means Safe Space Alliance is inclusive, fun, paranormal place where you can interact with global, like-minded people. So also, PNL Podcast is sponsored by the BOG team, which I mentioned earlier. It's a boots-on-ground BOG team, paranormal investigation team doing local historical investigations in Newfoundland. They had 2 sold-out public ghost hunts at the Torbay History House and Museum, and PNL Podcast and BOG team were both highlighted on local CBC News and NTV channels in 2024. PNL Podcast has a separate Facebook merch page, so when you look us up, that's just a page to drop some merch. If you're looking for it, we got all kinds of stuff. We got hoodies, we got hats, we got cell phone covers, we got all kinds of stuff, stickers, whatever you're looking for. And they're all designed by a podcast Alumni-Network member, Robert Dumond, who also is a BOG team member. And he was on PNL Podcast Season 1, Episode 28, and Season 2, Episode 151. He's also a local Newfoundland Labrador producer. Check him out. He's a great artist. And he also designed the BOG team music, and you can download that on all streaming platforms. So check out Robert Dumond. So I'm going to go ahead and bring on the guest now. Actually, before I bring on the guest, I was told to mention this. I don't know if you all seen it before, but I'm going to take this off the stage and put this on. This is a Newfoundland Cafe passport. If you don't have a passport, You need to get one. Basically, what it is cafepassport.com. And if you like paranormal tourism and travel in the United States and Canada, this is the thing to get. I went to Coffee Matters in St. John's with my husband, where we met for our anniversary. That's where we met, at Coffee Matters here in Newfoundland and Labrador. And we got our passport signed. So find, all your cool different cafe passports on wherever you're going for paranormal tourism and get it stamped. And I'll give you a 10% off now with Paranormal NL discount code, Paranormal NL. Just enter Paranormal NL and all the lowercase letters with no spaces. And that's the cafepassport.com. Now, let's get on with the show tonight. I have on with me, all the way from Brigus, I've got Captain Drodge. Welcome.
Hello, how you doing?
Tell us a little bit about yourself, Captain Drodge.
My name is Kris Drodge. I'm from Torbay, Newfoundland, on the Northeast Avalon. I'm currently the head School of Maritime Studies at the Fisheries and Marine Institute of Memorial University, and I've spent the majority of my life at sea in some aspect or another. Always had some interest in being on the water, a young sailor, and went into a profession to become a professional mariner. Went to the Marine Institute, did a nautical science program, and went to sea. Uh, Probably around the millennium, so I'm aging myself here now, and worked mostly Eastern Canada, and most of my career actually was offshore Newfoundland and Labrador, working on the Grand Banks on semi-submersibles and drill ships, which also took me around the world as well, to faraway places like Singapore and the Caribbean, Brazil, West Africa. And now I find myself in academia, which I thoroughly enjoy, um, and which has now brought me to providing some very good opportunities to students that we have at the Marine Institute. And not all of them are within the school that I'm a part of, because we have three schools at the Marine Institute: School of Ocean Technology, School of Fisheries, and the school I'm involved with, the School of Maritime Studies. And this initiative we're working on right now is a collaboration with the Massachusetts Maritime Academy, which is located in Buzzards Bay, Massachusetts, which is about an hour away from Boston or less, I guess, depending on traffic. But that's where they have their Maritime Academy. And they are the custodians and operators of the Ernestia Morrissey, which is, as you can see there in the picture, she is a Grand Bank schooner. She was built in Gloucester, Massachusetts in 1894 as a fishing schooner, and spent the first decade of her life doing just that, sealing and fishing in the Grand Banks and off the Georges Bank in the U.S. But she was purchased shortly thereafter by Bob Bartlett of Newfoundland notoriety and fame. Bob, of course, was from Brigus, where we're located here now, and he proceeded to spend the next 2 decades bringing the Morrissey, the FEM as it was then known. It was the name of the first of the daughter of the first owner. And Captain Bartlett didn't change the name of her when he bought her. And he proceeded to take her up to the Arctic on, I believe, at least 20 expeditions to the north, funded by all sorts of interesting organizations, ranging from the National Geographic to the Smithsonian. Um, Explorers Club. So he was a very well-renowned explorer, not just here in Newfoundland, but through the entire Northeast states. And so as he had her for about 25, 30 years until his death. And then the schooner had its next life, where it was purchased by an operator in the Cape Verde Islands west of Africa, the west coast of Africa, and it was used primarily for the transportation of immigrants, cargo to from the northeast United States to the Cape Verde Islands, and on the way back, they would bring immigrants to the New Bedford area, where there is still a large community of Cape Verde descendants, which have the same connection um, to the Ernestina Morrissey as Brigus does. They feel very connected to the vessel, and
Yes, yeah. Captain Bob
yeah,
has a huge historical figure in Brigus, and I think right now I want to say it's his 150th birthday celebrations.
yeah. So it's his. I guess this year is his 150th birthday. This is also the 125th anniversary of Bob actually purchasing the Morrissey. So
Yes.
another milestone, and it's the 100th year of Memorial University. So like
Oh, wow.
it kind of like this whole thing kind of came into play when we were with Massachusetts Maritime back in last October, about a year ago now, and we started talking about the Morrissey and about her connections to Newfoundland, and how great it would be if we brought it back. And so then we said, "Yeah, let's go for it." And we came up with a program where we would sponsor 10 students to come along for a portion of the voyage. So we did the Montreal to Brigus, and we went through the Strait of Belle Isle, so Havre Saint Pierre, and the North Shore, Quebec.
Captain, can
We
you talk to me a little bit about like how hard it is to traverse Newfoundland waters and just the Atlantic waters in general? I mean, our
Yeah.
oceans are wicked. And back in the day, Bob Bartlett didn't have an engine. He didn't have depth finders and all this kind of stuff. So, were you teaching the students the old school methods?
Well, yeah. So this schooner is with some modern technology like GPS and chart plotters and a fairly new propulsion system with the full suite of electronics. Um, but other than that, everything is the way it would have been when Captain Bartlett had the Morrissey, and that speaks a lot to the preservation of this vessel and of the skills. And transversing, like you said, our waters is not easy. A lot of times it is ice infested, especially as he was doing the Arctic explorations.
Yes.
The vessel is was designed and strengthened
Because this is
for
where the Titanic went down in the Atlantic, right?
the
Right after.
Titanic. Well, the Titanic went down about 200 miles to the southeast of Newfoundland, which would have been in the fishing grounds where the Morrissey would have been used in the fishing trade, in between expeditions and in her first life. Um, but she spent most of her campaigns up off of Labrador and in towards Greenland, and in trying to get to the North Pole in some cases.
Right, right.
For
Yeah.
expeditions were about getting, doing research the same way we do research now with the university.
Tell me about this research here in the picture. Like, how do you find where you're going? Do you just use the
Well,
stars? Is that what you're teaching?
yeah, so right there, we're teaching our students, how to use a sextant, which is one of the oldest navigation instruments that we have in the maritime industry, which we still teach today because it is the ultimate backup, um, and only relies on the equipment and the stars.
Now, would
Hopefully, will always
Captain
be there.
Bob would have had a sextant at that time?
Oh, he certainly was, and I believe there was a few pictures of actually Captain Bob with the sextant
Okay.
out there. But yeah, he
So,
certainly would have had this. Yeah.
what do you line it up with? The Big Dipper, or is there something in
Well,
particular?
there's certain navigation stars that are more brighter than others at certain
Like
times
the
of the year.
North?
North Stars being one of them. North Star is primarily used for your latitude.
Okay.
in the northern hemisphere. That is,
Okay.
most of the Morrissey's voyages were in the northern hemisphere. So, but other stars were certainly used for navigation, but they can also be used for determining position by taking sights of land. So you can use it on its side, not just vertical, but
Right.
horizontally as well, and taking bearings of, headlands and or like like a church steeple or whatever you see, and like triangulating your position. So it has multiple uses, but all relatively the same, where you're
But
taking bearings and azimuths,
in
angles
the
of for location.
like in the weather of Newfoundland and Labrador, we laugh and we talk about rain, drizzle, and fog, right? RDF.
Yeah,
So with Captain Bob in his time, how the heck would have he seen through the fog?
you didn't, and the same way we don't now. We have radar. But a lot of what we do still relies upon maintaining a heading, which Captain Bartlett and his crew would have done, and dead reckoning, which the estimation of position to determine, like if you're steaming along at 5 knots, 5 nautical miles an hour, that you do that in an hour. This is what your position should be. So maintaining course, maintaining speed would be very effective. And then when you got out of the fog, you would take a sight or recognize a piece of land. But also, even though there was no such thing as a depth sounder, they did use equipment like a lead line that
Oh,
would have
that's
been
right.
used
Okay.
to determine the bottom. So
The
not only is it
phantoms,
used
right? So
to,
many phantoms is how you go by.
yeah, and it's not only used to, and these are the ingenious like piece of equipment that were made before technology. So a lead line is not just used for determining depth; it's also used to determine the type of bottom. So like when you look at a nautical chart, even today, you'll see like certain types of bottoms that are annotated like sand or mud or rock. And when you use a lead line, like Captain Bartlett would have done, in addition to determining his position, he could drop the lead line down. And when you brought it back up, there would be a little cavity on the bottom of the lead line with like a piece of wax or something. And whatever was on the bottom would stick to it, or nothing if it was
Oh,
rock. So then you
okay.
could also determine your position, or at least confirm your position based on the bottom of the water of the water, so the ocean. So there's all sorts of methods to help them along, and they were successful. And I think a lot of the what we teach today, there's a heavy reliance on the comforts of navigation and
Yes,
electronic
yes.
navigation and satellites,
Like I've
and
got a
it's
marine traffic app pulled up here, and you all are in Brigus right now.
yeah, yeah. So
But back in the day, you didn't have all that, right? Like, what if
no,
it
and
was
you relied on a lot on flags, and sometimes
like
if there was a wireless on shore, or mail would have been
lighthouse?
delivered once in the moon. Certainly communication and understanding where other vessels were, or when a vessel was due in port, there certainly was not as easy as it is today. And going through that and learning and experiencing that in today's world shows our students and our crews and makes them exposed to the where we came from, and also where we could be if all of this fails. So learning all this stuff as a like a core a core competency is still truly essential.
Yes, I mean, I was going to ask you to turn the camera around so we can see some of the vessel. I'll take
Sure.
this
There
down
you go.
so we can
So
look. And
we are doing some tours right now. So
there's
you're seeing
Brigus.
seeing some folks.
Okay, see folks on board, and they're walking around there. There's the main mast. You're frozen right now, Captain Drodge, but keep talking. You'll come back eventually. And this is the town of Brigus, and they're having a
Yeah,
festival there right now where you
yeah.
can actually. Okay, you're back on now.
I'm back on.
Yep, there
So
you
yeah.
are.
So yeah. So we're conducting tours out here today. Um,
So he's dropping a little bit, but what he's
to
saying is that there's
because
tours. There, you're back again. Okay.
yeah. Yeah, so the tours are important for vessels like this, like the Morrissey, and exposing them to the public, because not only is it an opportunity for share, but it's also an opportunity for us um, to get attention to vessels like this, because
Yes.
these vessels require a lot of support to be
Yes.
maintained and
Yes.
to be operated. And it is there is a foundation for this vessel that is in New Bedford, and it is it's instrumental in maintaining this vessel as part of the United States historic landmarks and as part of the Academy, which is part of Massachusetts Maritime.
And that's why you see, hence the American flag in the background for people who are
Yeah, yeah,
wondering,
yeah.
okay,
So
you're in Canada,
yeah,
why aren't you flying the Canadian flag? Well, the
yeah,
ship is owned by the US, right?
yeah. It's in well, its home port, its registered port is New Bedford, and in Massachusetts, and the it's also historic. It's a registered National Historic Landmark in the United States, so it has that going for it as well.
Right.
So yeah, so it is a U.S. vessel, but it has certainly Canadian and Newfoundland connections.
So when you were out and about, did you see many marine life and things like that on your travels?
Yeah, we certainly did. So we had going through the Gulf of St. Lawrence, we saw a couple sperm whales. We
Nice.
saw humpback whales. I believe we saw one fin whale. It didn't stick around very long.
How about
Um,
sharks? Did you see any sharks out there?
We did not, but I work, I work and I play on these waters around Newfoundland, and sharks are certainly becoming more prevalent in our areas. But no, we didn't see any sharks on this trip. But we did see lots of, like I said before, and also on top of that, like white-sided dolphins. We saw lots of seals in some of the ports, and lots of birds, gannets and puffins, and there you go, and yeah. And so
I
it's
got to give a shout out to Alex Sue Photography. He was on Paranormal NL Podcast Season 2, Episode 130. And a shout out to Ray Mackey. You may see some of his pictures up here. Now, I think that's the Brigus Lighthouse. Does that Brigus Lighthouse, is that operational? Like, did you use that coming into port or?
Yeah, so all lighthouses in Newfoundland are still operational. They may not be may not be occupied and that like they're manned 24 hours, but they are operational. They are still used for navigation, but again, going back to how much we rely upon traditional navigation aids and as opposed to the comforts of electronic navigation and chart plotting, AIS, automatic identification systems. Lighthouses are there as your backup. And some people will say, well, it's not really necessary to have lights and foghorns, in today's world. But it's a very
I
big,
differ. I
yeah,
beg
I
to
differ
differ.
too.
Look at this iceberg and look at all the growlers. Can you want to talk about what a growler is?
Yeah, so a growler is a large piece of ice that is broken off an iceberg. Now the icebergs can be various sizes and shapes, and an iceberg, of course, is broken off of a glacier. And like I said, are large pieces, but can still do a considerable amount of damage if you come. And then we have what we call Newfoundland Bergy bits. That would
Yes.
be a smaller piece of ice that would break off an iceberg in smaller pieces, or could be the remnants of a larger growler,
And
or
again,
just a melted. Yeah,
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 that's how the Titanic went down with it with an iceberg around our waters.
that's correct.
And
Yeah,
our waters are pretty wicked. There's been a lot of shipwrecks and things off of our coast. And I'm
yeah,
sure back in the day there was a lot. I mean, check out the fog just rolling in here on Signal Hill.
yeah,
I know you didn't get to go to St. John's, but maybe next time we'll get to see you here in St. John's. We'd love to see you. But folks, you got to get to Brigus and go see this vessel. Captain, there's a shot of Torbay Beach. This is one of my favorite beaches to go. Do you have any stories about, since we're a paranormal show, do you
yeah.
have any experience or any stories about anything on that particular ship or other ships you've been on?
Unfortunately, not. I know that when you reached out, I was a bit interested in that topic, but I did think about it, and I can't really think of much. Things that go bump in the night on vessels that I've been associated with. You feel on these vessels though that there is always that connection, that there is always like like a memory of previous owner. In this case, Bob Bartlett. It does seem to be part of this vessel.
Okay.
But and people feel very connected to vessels. That's something I've experienced, in the 25 years I've been at sea. It doesn't really matter what vessel it is. People always have an affinity for those for what the vessels they worked on, and treat them with emotion. And I've seen vessels that go, to the shipyard, to the breakers, to get scrapped, and people always get, fairly emotional about that because
I
they
got
believe that.
really emotional with the Scademia when
Yeah,
she was sold. That was
yeah,
a huge historical part of Newfoundland and Labrador.
yeah, yeah,
That's part of my love for the tall
yeah.
ships.
Yeah, and whether there's a nature of that where there's a memory part of what was always part of the vessel and how that connects to us mariners. That's
And
something that you
Newfoundland and
believe.
Labrador is such a deep-rooted culture with us, right? The tall
Yes.
ships.
Yeah.
And pirates, we had a lot of pirates and stuff back in the day. And the place where you're at in Brigus, wasn't there a lot of pirates around there too?
Yeah, yeah. So I do some boating out here as well. In Conception Bay, and out in Kelly's Island is notoriously known as as a possible a treasure location for the pirate Kelly.
Yes, yes.
And of
And I
course
pulled
Peter
up
East.
old
Yeah,
Peter Easton. Yes.
yeah.
Look, I pulled up old Harry for you over
Oh
by
yeah,
Bell
Long
Island.
Harry, Old Harry. Yeah,
Do you
yeah.
want to talk about that?
Yeah. So that's just a landmark off of Bell Island. That's a painting I did there of Long Harry. So we actually passed this on the way in yesterday on the
Nice.
Morrissey. Yeah,
Okay.
and I was pointing it out to the crew. So yeah, that would have been like a known landmark for navigators and coming into Conception Bay.
Right. And you just finished up with the Royal Newfoundland Yacht Club Joe de Canada
Yeah,
Games.
so this has been a very busy summer.
Yes.
Yeah, I was involved with hosting the Canada Games at the Royal Newfoundland Yacht Club, which was a great event, great venue, great event, and hopefully we can maintain sailing in the Canada Games in the next 4 years.
Yes, there's a lot to learn about sailing, and
Certainly
there
is. Yeah.
it is in all of our grandeur and the internal aspect of it. I guess to have fun. There's a Newfoundland fiddle. I guess a lot of people on the downtime do stuff like that while you're sailing. You got to tell me about this duck. What? Who?
So we picked up this duck in Montreal,
Yeah,
visited a store that was one of my daughter's favorite stores. So they
yeah.
sell these little rubber ducks that have all sorts of themes, like captains, or like ducks that play tennis, and Rolling Stones ducks that look like Mick Jagger. But this one was a Mariner one, and we picked it up as sort of our mascot for our trip. So we named the duck Effie, and we
Effie.
kind of we kind of brought it around
Okay.
to some of the things we did. Yeah,
And this is
and
an example of one of your charts, correct? That I
yeah.
see
So
here.
that's one of our charts going down the St. Lawrence River. You can see the
So,
yeah. So that would have
how
been, yeah.
how would the captain would have kept all of his charts dry? I mean, you
So
know,
yeah, so right there you can see that chart is actually covered by a piece of plexiglass. Now
right.
that being said, that was a very nice day, and that's not normally where you would keep a chart. You would keep it
Oh,
in the chart room, which is underneath, which is in like the aft salon, which is fully covered. But it's funny you mentioned RDF and Newfoundland weather before. I'm sitting here now, and the fog has rolled in, and now it's starting to drizzle, and
oh,
yeah.
it is. There you are there. Now, I've got a picture here of the ship when you got close to the iceberg, and I think that
Oh
there it
yes,
is
yeah,
there. Look at
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, and that ship hadn't seen an iceberg in how many years?
Oh, I would say that she hasn't seen an iceberg in at least, oh, I would probably say 50. I don't know if she saw one when she came up 30 back in 1988. So I'll say at least 35 years.
So I bet Captain Bob Bartlett was on the deck with you, real happy to see something like that.
Oh, he certainly would. He probably would have been happy because it would have indicated the presence of mammals that he could capture for the Smithsonian. He was
Oh,
he one of a lot of actually a few of his expeditions were from the Smithsonian, and other museums in the Northeast, uh, to uh, to capture and relocate animals for zoos and displays.
oh
So
gosh, I didn't know that.
taxidermy and live animals. So there's a story of a young polar bear that he had brought back, and the polar bear was actually a little wild, as most polar bears are, and
Yes.
ended up chewing off a piece of the bulwark on board, piece of the edge of the ship, which I think they've said that they still have in the warehouse that they have for this vessel.
Oh my
So
gosh, wow.
yeah,
Because I was going to ask you, did you see any polar bears on the icebergs? But
no.
do you still have to do this when you're hoisting up the sails? Go up this like
When you raise the topsails, so I'll show you there now. I'll turn the camera around. So if you
okay,
look
hold
up,
on. Let me take this off the stage and so
yeah.
everybody can see. Okay.
So if you
Yeah.
look all the way up, there's two
Yeah.
sails.
Yeah.
There's the fore topsail, and then there's the main topsail.
Yeah.
And those sails, yes, sailors have to go up, and they have to unfurl those two sails in order to raise them. So we never did that on this trip, but we did have our students go up the mast, up to the top in St. Anthony. So we had a day in St. Anthony where we were delayed by some weather, and so we took the opportunity to. Uh,
To hoist the
uh,
sails.
yeah,
Now, I've got an example of, I've mentioned to you my grandfather. I got to shout out to him as Captain William Benjamin Scott, who's now passed. But every boy in the family, every ship that he captained, he made a replica for each boy in the family, right down to each sail and everything, the
yeah,
rigging, everything. So there's an example of one of them, and the rigging itself is there's the scademia is must be very difficult to hoist and then pull it down.
yeah. Very. The weight of the mainsail with both the main boom and the gaff boom weighs about when it comes off the throat on the mast, weighs about 6,000 pounds.
Wow.
So, and that's all manually raised. So it takes the entire crew on the line to raise it that last couple of feet.
Now I've got a picture of a couple sails up here, but how many sails are there in total?
So on this vessel, uh, there are one, two, three, four,
Mhm.
five, six, seven, eight sails total.
Eight
Um,
total.
yeah,
Wow.
and that includes the fisherman's sail. So once you have all your main sails up, you can put up the fisherman's sail, which kind of covers the gaps in the that would be seen on the side. And it's not often put up, but if they're in a and they do this from time to time, they do race the vessel down in the states. It could be
Yes.
something that they put up to get some extra windage. Yeah.
Yes, because you get definitely a lot of wind here in Newfoundland Labrador. I've got some pictures up here. Brigus, everybody go to Brigus, check out the ship. And how long are you open today until?
So Friday, Friday, we're open till 4:30, and then
Okay.
tomorrow on Saturday, tours open at 10 o'clock down at the vessel, and are open until 4:30.
Yes, there's a lot of different festivities over there in Brigus, so make sure you check them out and check out the Ernestia Morrissey. And I forgot to ask you what SSV stands for.
Sailing vessel, say your ship sailing vessel, Ernestina Morrissey.
Gotcha. Nice. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today. And I wish you all the best of luck sailing. Where's your next place you're going?
We're going to stop. We're going to make a quick stop after Brigus on Sunday. We're going to have a tour for some invited guests and some cadets from the Navy cadets. We'll take them to out for a quick sail and over to the launch, the Marine Institute's facility in Holyrood, where the vessel will resupply, refuel, have a little rest, and then she'll depart on Tuesday for the United States.
Okay, well, folks get to see her in Holyrood.
Not publicly. They'll be able to see it, but because of the height of the dock at our facility, the gangway would be unsafe for public to board. So unfortunately, we're not going to have any public
But
access in the launch. But Brigus is the spot to do that right now, and so
and
we'll.
if we want to follow you, we can look on the app, on the Marine app, to see where you are.
Yep. So there is a marine traffic app. It's not affiliated with any of us, but it does track the signal that's transmitted from the vessel. So all you have to do is the app is marine traffic and search Ernestina Morrissey, and you'll come up with the vessel and its location.
Perfect. So everybody follow Captain Drodge with his vessel right now, the Ernestia Morrissey.
Yeah.
And
I will point out I am not the captain of the vessel.
well, you are temporarily.
No.
Okay.
There's only one captain on the vessel, and that privilege goes to Captain Tiffany Kirwan.
Is that the one on the website for the?
It is. Yeah.
Oh, I was going to ask you about that because I was like, okay, how does that work? Because there's so many different, people involved, right?
Yeah. No, there's only one captain on the vessel, and I'm here in support of the students that we put on the British Institute, and as pointed out in our station bill, I am as required, and I'm happy to do so. So if a line needs to be pulled or a chore needs to be done, I'm happy to do it. But the Ernestina Morrissey is in excellent hands under the leadership of Captain Kirwan and her professional crew, of which are now part of.
Did you want to give a shout out to any schools here in Newfoundland and Labrador again?
Yeah. So obviously, this wouldn't have been possible, of course, without our own team here at the Marine Institute, Memorial University. There is, of course, the owners, the operators of the Morrissey, the Massachusetts Maritime Academy, and the crew of the Morrissey, and then there's the foundation, the Ernestina Morrissey Foundation, which provides the essential funding and awareness and interpretation of the vessel as it goes through its life.
So everybody follow the ship and check her out. And thank you so much for being on the show today. We really appreciate having you on. I'm going to leave now with a little bit of music. I guess we'll put some folk music on, or unless you want some metal or something else.
Folk music is fine with me.
Okay, here's some Bog Team folk music, just to bring it up for a minute or so.
In the shadows where the spirits weep.
There's lots of different festivities to see and do. Brigus is an awesome place, and the ship is beautiful. Go see her this weekend. Get out. Go see the ship. Thank you so much again for being on the show, Captain.
No problem. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.